So I was going to marry a rich man. So here I was pregnant, only about, I think, a month from the term, and had been kicked around several times in the stomach, and I just couldn't take much more. And matter of fact, we had called the sheriffs on him one day at Germantown, and the sheriffs wouldn't do anything. All he did was scream he was drunk, and all he did was scream, "My brother is the mayor of Memphis. I'll have your jobs. Each one of you will be fired," and blah, 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 blah. And this went on for a few hours. And then they were like, "Well, we, aren't going to arrest him." And I'm like, "Why?" And I think what had happened was he had kicked me in the stomach, and then I think he kicked my daughter or something. And I'm like, "Oh, hell no, you aren't kicking my kid." So the sheriffs wouldn't do a thing. It was like a 2.5 hour deal. And, like the neighbors were coming out, and we were trying to, take refuge away from him because it was scary. And it was like the neighbors didn't want to even help. It's like they knew he was bad news or something. So that was the end of that deal. They wouldn't do crap to him, and he thought that was hilarious. And then it was like, how am I going to get out of the situation? I need to get all my stuff out of that house out there in Pickwick and just find a way out, like while he's at work or something. And it was bad because he would like appear and stuff. You never know. So he was like, "You really need to have an abortion." I called Jim Whitehead, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. He's kicked me so much and stuff. I'm afraid this kid will be garbage, and either that or have the kid and leave, like the other girl or whatever. So I'm sure that's what happened. That girl probably ran for her life. Other than the fact she was a minor, he could have been in jail over that. So anyway, Whitehead says, "I'm just going to tell you, Red." He said, I've known Thurman for a lot of years, and he's problematic, and that's why Sue and him couldn't stay together. And believe me, everything he says about Sue isn't entirely true. He said, "But I will tell you, yeah, he wants a kid, but," he says, "you would have so many problems if you did have a kid by him, because it would be the power play. He's got the power, he's got the money, and wouldn't be good all in all." And I was like, and I was just in tears. And he says, "I hate to see you go through this, and I have to be careful what I say because I might piss him off, and I don't really like to get too involved, but I mean, I'm just telling you honestly, I don't think it's a good move. I think you will be in real serious danger, and all he'll do is have money and just, he'll get a way to take the kid away from you and all that kind of stuff, and you're just wasting your time." And I'm like, well, this whole thing doesn't even make any sense. And so, anyway, and I sure didn't want to have any kids unless I was married. That was another thing. And we weren't quite married yet, but I still was, I don't know, hesitant. We had big plans for the wedding. We were going to do the Pickwick house, and I already had the wedding gown and my engagement ring, and, but anyway, so Thurman demands that I have an abortion. And I'm like, oh my God. So I don't know what to do except the fact that he's trashed that kid up so bad from kicking me in the stomach so many times. That, and it's probably the easier way to get away from him. As if I was kind of back to normal. But, he was like, I will pay for it any price. Well, so I ended up doing this abortion. The doctor's dead today. And he got in a lot of trouble for doing illegal abortions. Because, like, that abortion should have never happened. Because I was way too far along. And let me tell you, it's affected me my whole life. I used to teach school and I really enjoyed doing it. And I found that I could no longer do that. Because I always saw that little boy that I was supposed to have. And, so it was really hard. Even with my other kids as they grew up to go to schools and see kids down the halls and stuff, and it was like that could have been that little boy, it's something that's so hard on you as a female if you ever have to terminate for whatever reason. And I mean, I have friends that are like, you deserve to die if you terminate, or you're a baby killer if you terminate, and all that, and right off into that. But today I think it was a good thing to do, even though it was a bad thing, because I think Jim would have been right. It would have been a very dangerous life. But it just destroys your body, and I can't, I was very avid to drink, gallons of V8 juice, real health fanatic and all that, and to this day I can't drink V8 juice, I can't drink hot tomato soup. I just, what I saw when I turned my head to the side, on those drugs, because you're fairly awake, I just will never forget. And it really did some damage. Really it did, to me forever. And I really suggest, if there's any way you have out other than that, take it. Because really the last thing you want to do is have a termination. Like I say, this doctor, it was highly illegal. But Thurman dropped me off, and it's like he was so mad, he was glad that I was really doing this. He wouldn't even go in with me. And here comes this cop. I bet he's going to ask me to go.
Morning.
Yes, sir?
Hey, this is trailer parking only. So if you would move the vehicle.
Oh.
Thank you.
Then why didn't he have all those other cars moved? They said there was a young cop here that sucked. I'll have to move your crap. They talked about that new young cop that goes around jacking with people. I can usually come down and feed the animals. I've been coming down here for years. And the maintenance guy for the city goes, don't let him catch you parking over there and leave the car. And I'm like, why? And he says, he will ticket you $250 ticket. I said, for what? Yeah, so I guess that's that new young cop.
Well, he comes walking out and he asked me for you. And then he comes and said something else and then he drove away. And then he came back, must have seen you there. He was chomping at the bit,
Yeah, it's so stupid. But yeah, the city maintenance guy told me the last time I was over here, because I've been here for years, and I came down here before this was a park, and he says, you watch out for the young cop. He is bad news. And I'm like, really? I was like, go over there and feed the fish and the birds for 10 minutes, and then he'll give you a ticket. He's like, oh yeah, don't leave your car alone. So I'm sitting way on the edge, and the trailer parking sign's on the other side, and he comes over and says, you can't park here, it's trailer parking only. Nothing else better to do,
All
right?
Have a good day.
You too. So that punk is ridiculous. See, the sign was on the other side of me, so, but I mean, I wonder, and he was sitting behind me for like an hour. So let's see if I can park here. Maybe he'll come back and tell me I can't park here now. Because this is where he was parking. And I'd already heard about that guy. And that's funny. He said the cop came over and asked him if my car was his. He said, I know he was chomping at the bit just to plug you. But anyway, so... when I got out of there, I almost passed out on the grass. You know, Thurman left me there. And said, just call me when you're done. Call me when you're done. I said, well, they aren't going to let me out of the building unless I have somebody that is picking me up. That's the whole idea. They tell you right up front, you know, no drop-offs, whatever, da-da-da-da-da. You have to have somebody here for you. You cannot drive, you know, you will be sedated and whatever. And man, let me tell you how bad it is. It's beyond belief how bad a shape you are when you come out of something like that. And so I thought I was gonna die. And see, Thurman had my daughter with him. I'm pretty sure that day when she was at school. And so I had called him a few times, called his beeper and stuff, and then he didn't he hadn't shown up yet. And so I went out the door, only because I was high as a damn kite. I went out the door and I don't know. I went out the door and I about blacked out on the lawn right out in front of the place where I did. I can't remember what happened. And so I had a prescription I was supposed to go fill. I was like seriously bleeding to death. They gave me my papers, and I think it was $500 for the termination. And Thurman had given me cash to pay it. He didn't even come inside. He just dropped me off. So I'm waiting and waiting for him to show up. Finally he shows up. And he's like, did you get it done? I'm like, yeah, and I was just in tears. And in pain. And bleeding to death. And I said, they gave me these papers of prescriptions I have to pick up. And he's like, yeah, right. So he takes me to the Germantown place and drops me off, says he has to go back to work and do some things. And my daughter's with me. And she was like, I don't know, 7. And so I had to call him because I was bleeding really bad. My little girl's trying to take care of me. And I am laying on the couch. I can't walk. I'm just, bleeding really bad. And so we kept trying to call him and stuff because it needed the prescriptions so he could go get him and stuff, and the dumb jerk wouldn't answer the phone. And so then I kind of thought, well, I guess he's with Whitehead and drinking in a strip club or something. I mean, he just couldn't reach him. And so about 5 hours later, he shows up, and I'm not in good shape. I'm ready to go to the emergency room. And I had lost so much blood, and I was so weak. And it turns out that medicine is supposed to stop the bleeding and all that kind of thing and kill the pain. And I didn't get it like I should have had it right away. I was very lucky I didn't die. And my poor little girl was trying to take care of me and didn't know what to do. She's just so little. So, and then I was so sad over the whole thing. And I was in so much pain. And finally, you know, he goes to get the medicines and takes my daughter with him. And they come back, and finally we have the medicine, and he leaves again. And I talked to Whitehead, and I'm like, why would he do this? I mean, he demanded I do this. And then he can't even take me to or get the prescriptions that I have to have. He goes, yeah, those are to keep you from bleeding to death. I'm like, oh, great. So he spent, 5 hours, I guess, so I could bleed to death. So I really started to wonder, I'm like, this guy, I just, this is not gonna work. And then about a week later was an interesting scene. He got up in the morning, was throwing a hissy fit, and then he says, well, I'll just turn you into the law enforcement and you'll go to jail for theft. I'm like, huh? And he said, that's right. He says, you're going to go to jail for theft. And I'm like, why would you say that? And he says, well, because you used my credit cards and my checking account and you signed your name. Have these guys really figured out what the hell they're doing? Jesus. So I said, what? And he says, yes, I will put you in jail. You're going to get processed for any check and any time you've ever used the credit cards. And I'm like, why? And it wasn't like, I went wild or anything like that. I rarely used them. And only did it with his permission, too. I was not one to just charge away on somebody's stuff. I would literally call him, before I would write any checks for anything. And so, he was like really adamant about it. And I thought, this jerk, man. And then I'm thinking about the insurance frauds, and I'm thinking, oh, now he's going to bank fraud so that he can get that little bit of money back too. And I said, this is looking shadier and shadier. I just don't know. I think this is a very bad situation I need to get away from. The trick was having the right time to do it to escape and the money to escape. So, and then of course, to work in Memphis where the money was at, and then, hopefully avoid him to where he never comes in again, or change clubs or something, because there's a huge amount of money in Memphis at that time. And it was like, everything was lost. It was like, I just didn't know what to do. And in the end, I ended up with about nothing. My Camaro, my hair dryer, and my little girl. But, yeah, it was a really strange situation. And I was so sad after that baby. But then, I learned that it wasn't getting better, and that I could really trust Jim Whitehead. And Jim was kind of scared to say stuff because he's afraid Thurman would come after him. But Jim was like my very dearest friend. I could call him 24 hours a day. And he was like, you know, Thurman's just strange like that. And I can't explain it. He said, you know, I like him as a friend when we hang out together. He's right. He said, but I can't take too much of him. And he's like, you know, when he drinks, he's really stupid. I'm like, yeah, he's stupid. So now I'm really wondering, I'm like, you know, all it's going to do is get worse, I think, at this point. Things are not good. And Thurman was so sad. He was like, we'll have another kid one day. But, you know, this is just not the time. I don't know. It's just really strange. And so, anyway, you know, if I'm going to terminate, I mean, I'm not having any kids with anybody who's going to make me terminate. Forget it. I think that party's about over. So I was just trying to get a plan to escape.